Have you ever said something you regret just because you felt something too strongly? Have you ever walked away from a dream, not because you couldn't do it, but because fear whispered, you'll fail again? Or maybe you're not living the life you could live just because you haven't learned to question your emotions. What if your entire life has been led not by you, but by a feeling you never dared to control? If any of that resonates with you, then you're in the right place. And before we dive deep into how to take back that control, make sure you hit subscribe to our channel, Think and Rebound, so you don't miss out on more insights like this. Today, we're diving into a philosophy that offers a profound answer to this very question, a way of thinking that for centuries has empowered individuals to reclaim their inner peace and master their emotional landscape. Now, to help illustrate this, we're going to share some stories about individuals whose experiences, though fictional, perfectly capture what we're talking about. So, please keep in mind that the names we use are purely for storytelling purposes. Let's start with Arthur. Arthur was a young man with a clear vision for his future. He dreamed of creating beautiful, functional spaces that would stand the test of time, places where people could live, work, and thrive. He poured his heart and soul into learning, sketching, and refining his craft. But Arthur had a significant challenge. He was incredibly reactive to criticism and setbacks. Every negative comment, every rejection, felt like a direct attack on his very being. One afternoon, Arthur presented a meticulously crafted proposal for a project he believed in deeply. He had worked tirelessly for months, sacrificing weekends and late nights, envisioning the positive impact his work could have. The client listened intently, nodding occasionally, and Arthur felt a surge of hope. This was it. This was his big chance to make his dream a reality. But then, the client leaned back in their chair, a frown creasing their brow. "Arthur," they began, well, it's not quite what we envisioned. It lacks the practical elements we discussed. Frankly, it's not suitable for this purpose." Arthur felt a cold dread wash over him. His face flushed, his heart pounded, and a knot formed in his stomach. All the effort, all the passion, dismissed in a few harsh words. He felt exposed, foolish, and deeply hurt. You know that feeling, don't you? When you've poured everything into something and it just gets shot down. In that moment, his carefully constructed confidence crumbled. He stammered a few incoherent apologies, packed his things, and left, the sting of failure burning. For days, Arthur was consumed by this single interaction. He couldn't sleep, he lost his appetite, and his creativity dried up. He replayed the conversation countless times, imagining different responses, different outcomes. He was trapped in a cycle of self-blame and resentment, convinced he was a failure, that he wasn't good enough. His emotions, unchecked, were truly controlling him.
Arthur's experience is incredibly relatable, isn't it? We've all been there, at the mercy of our raw emotions, feeling like we're just adrift. But what if there was a way to navigate these powerful internal currents without being swept away? This is where Stoic philosophy offers a powerful roadmap. At its core, Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions or becoming emotionless. It's about understanding what we can control and what we cannot. The Stoics believed that many of our anxieties, frustrations, and sorrows stem from trying to control things that are simply beyond our influence, like other people's opinions, external events, or even the past. Does that resonate with you? Trying to fix things you just can't change? He also started practicing mindfulness, not in a spiritual sense, but in a very practical, stoic way. When he felt anger or frustration building, he would pause. He'd observe his thoughts and physical sensations without judgment. He'd ask himself, is this reaction serving me? Is this within my control? This simple act of pausing created a crucial gap between the stimulus and his response. How many times have we all reacted in the heat of the moment, only to regret it later? The meeting concluded with the client, surprisingly, commending Arthur on his professionalism and his willingness to adapt. He didn't get the entire project, but he secured a significant portion, and more importantly, he earned the client's respect. This wasn't about winning every battle, but about winning the war against his own unchecked emotions. He walked out of that meeting not with a sense of triumph, but with a quiet, profound sense of self-mastery.
Exactly. Think about Arthur's situation. He couldn't control the client's reaction or their perception of his proposal. What he could control was his response to that criticism. This is the bedrock of Stoic thought, the dichotomy of control. Some things are within our control, like our thoughts, our judgments, our desires, and our actions. Other things are not, like external events, other people's actions, and even our own bodies to some extent. We can't prevent aging or illness, for example. One of the first exercises Arthur tried was negative visualization. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong with the client, he began to mentally prepare for potential future setbacks. He imagined presenting another proposal and the client rejecting it, perhaps even more harshly. It sounds counterintuitive, right? But by confronting these fears in his mind, he started to chip away at their power. He realized that the fear of failure was often more debilitating than the failure itself. It's like when you prepare for the worst, anything else feels better. This pause is so powerful. It's like hitting the brakes before you crash. Instead of immediately reacting with an emotional outburst or spiraling into self-pity, Arthur learned to observe. He started to see his emotions not as masters, but as fleeting visitors. He understood that while he couldn't always control their arrival, he could control how long they stayed and what power he gave them. This is the real game changer, isn't it? The true test came a few months later. Arthur had refined his proposal, incorporating some of the client's original feedback, but more importantly, he had refined his inner approach. He walked into that second meeting with a sense of calm resolve, not driven by desperation for approval, but by a commitment to his craft. There was a moment, a brief flicker, when the old Arthur almost resurfaced. The client made a particularly biting comment about his lack of commercial understanding. Arthur felt the familiar flush, the tightening in his chest. He thought, here comes the anger. But then he remembered his Stoic practices. He paused. He took a deep breath. He observed the sensation, acknowledged it, and then let it pass. He chose not to engage with the jab, but to focus on the objective feedback. If you were in his shoes, would you have been able to do the same? It's not easy, is it? Arthur's story isn't unique. The principles he applied can be seen in countless individuals who've transformed their lives by embracing Stoic wisdom. Take Eleanor, for example. Her big dream was to be a powerful, persuasive communicator, someone who could inspire and lead. But she used to dread public speaking. The mere thought of standing in front of a group would trigger panic attacks. You might have felt that too, right? the fear just taking over. Instead of avoiding it, she adopted the Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. She'd mentally rehearse her presentations, not just for success, but for potential failures, forgetting her lines, a slide malfunction, a hostile audience member. By facing these fears beforehand, she systematically desensitized herself. She realized that the worst-case scenarios were rarely as terrifying in reality as they were in her mind. She still gets nervous, but now she manages that nervousness. It doesn't manage her. Or consider David, a young man whose ambition was to build something new, something innovative that would solve real-world problems. His startup faced numerous rejections from investors. Each no felt like a personal attack, eroding his confidence. He started to internalize the rejections, believing they reflected his self-worth. It's hard not to take things like that personally, right? David learned about the Stoic idea of amor fati, love of fate. This isn't about passive acceptance of everything that happens, but actively embracing all of life, the good and the bad, as integral parts of your journey. He began to see each rejection not as a personal failure, but as a data point, an opportunity to learn and refine his pitch. He detached his self-worth from the outcome of external events. This shift in perspective allowed him to persevere through countless setbacks, eventually securing the funding he needed.
So what did Arthur, Eleanor, and David all learn, and what can we take from their experiences? It boils down to a few key Stoic principles that are timeless and universally applicable. These aren't just ancient ideas, they're practical tools for modern life. Firstly, focus on what's within your control. Your thoughts, your actions, your judgments. Let go of what isn't. Other people's opinions, external circumstances, the past. This frees up immense mental and emotional energy that you might be wasting on things you can't change. Secondly, practice negative visualization. Mentally prepare for potential challenges. By doing so, you reduce the shock and emotional impact when they actually occur. You build resilience, making you tougher when things get rough. Thirdly, cultivate mindfulness and a pause before reacting. Observe your emotions without judgment. Ask yourself if your reaction is serving your best interests. This creates space for a more reasoned response, instead of just lashing out or shutting down. And finally, embrace amor fati. Love your fate. Accept all of life's experiences, even the difficult ones, as opportunities for growth. Don't fight reality. Work with it, learn from it, and become stronger because of it.
So, is your emotion controlling you? Perhaps it has been, but it doesn't have to be. You have the power to shift that dynamic. Don't try to implement all of these at once. Instead, pick one, just one principle we discussed today. Maybe it's practicing that crucial pause before reacting to something frustrating. Or perhaps it's spending 5 minutes before bed mentally preparing for a challenging meeting tomorrow. Not just wishing for the best, but mentally bracing for the worst. Start small, be consistent, and observe the profound shifts that begin to occur in your life. Reclaim your peace. Reclaim your power.